Hey, today I'm going to be doing my partially scripted thoughts to metagame. It just finished, and I'm feeling a lot, which is really nice. Um, the part I want to talk about is the finale, but I'm going to go through some of the other things first because I wrote it down. Um, I think a lot of changes that people wanted made to the documentary are good ideas. Some of the language used, um, I would have liked having a Leffen interview. There were some mentions of women for certain people that probably would have been better not mentioned, not kept in without context. Um, and I felt like Hungrybox and M2K didn't get to talk as much. Samox did address this last one, and he has made changes for most of the others. There are some other people that probably we would have liked to have had exposed in the documentary less, and that would have been a good thing. That would have been a good thing if they weren't there, or at least not as prominently. Um, let's talk about Jeet Kune Do next. I uploaded a video yesterday um, talking about that, and I tried to make it funny, but I also tried to warn people about being led astray. Anyone I have personally recommended or taught any of Jeet Kune Do to has hurt them more than helped them at a variety of levels of play. So, in my view, unless you are a top 5 player, it is probably not better to mess with it. If you want to look at it for the philosophy, that's fine. And I'm not telling you how to live your life. This is my recommendation based on my experience. Some people didn't like that, and that's okay. Again, not telling you what to do, just advising. Um, there were some things that I liked about the documentary because there were criticisms, and then there was my response to all that. But I did the script out of order, so here we are. I like how the game is introduced. I like how a lot of people talk about it. I like that there was so much connection between person and game. I liked a lot of the narrative weaving. I liked that there were Samox would take time very gingerly sometimes with ideas or sets or whatever, and gave them the attention they deserve. Not just for me, but for many people. I also like that he referenced the first documentary. I know he was hesitant about that. I think that's a good thing. It had a massive effect on the community, like I do hope this one does as well. I also loved learning a lot about Armada, as he's pretty private as well, in a similar way to me. And I think it was wonderful to see more breathed into his backstory and his life. To make him seem more than just the winning machine, right? Like, I think that was wonderful. And here's some of what I wrote about myself. It's hard to evaluate because it's me, but it's nice to be seen more honestly, and I could stop there for the most part if I wanted to. When Samox approached me for an interview for the documentary, I just kind of felt that at that moment, like, everything, he came at like the perfect time because there were so many things I had learned and wanted to talk about. And I said, I don't feel like I put myself out there a lot. I don't feel like people may even want to know me that much, but I wanted to be seen more honestly, and I do think there's much more of that now, and I think people have been understanding. So thank you for that. That's very beautiful. If I were, and I was given a great deal of appreciation in terms of how I was portrayed in the doc, so I wouldn't say I really have any criticism of that. I think maybe it was kind of hard to show that so much of what was going on with me was a roller coaster, that other things were bringing me down, and that I was learning from previous experience how to navigate that, but it was still hard. Setting up 2014, I think, was a bit weird. and I kind of want to just pause and say, if it seemed I overharped on depressive things, I think you could argue that's a flaw of the documentary, that there was so much of me talking about that. Sure, and I would say that it could be both a flaw and a highlight, and the reason for that is because depression can be consistent. Things can come back to you. More lessons from life can come to you, and if my story can show that, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if people say it detracts from the overall product, I think that can be a message that's still worth sending. And of course, let's not forget the challenges that all of us experienced, all of the gods and Leffen too, experienced from the fame, from success, from trying to navigate that space, and there's no one that really teaches you how to do it. And that wasn't a theme that was really covered very much, if at all, I don't think. And that's something that I would love to talk more about as a community. Maybe the community can also do more to support people in that way. I don't really have an idea for that. I'm just spitballing. There was a section at the final part where I talked about beating my demons, and Scar sort of seemed like a foil to that. And maybe he's vindicated by how the last few years are played out. I suppose it's a matter of perspective. The wording I used, beating your demons, I don't think was inaccurate. I think I had, in a certain way, overcome a lot of things, and I had approached myself in a very... I had approached myself in almost like a way of solving a melee position. Like it was forced, it was analytic, it was, we're going to do this and it's going to happen. There was not nearly the compassion there needed to be. I was very brutal towards myself. And there's something that I've really learned about myself. I've really explored so many aspects and so much depth of this in the past few years. That would be that I'm greatly sensitive to things. And I don't necessarily, and I think people often associate that with weakness, with many things like that. And I would say that is often how it turns out. But I think there's a way to make that work for you. But first, you have to understand that it's a thing. And part of my issue was I thought everyone felt like I did. They just weren't honest about it. Like they felt really deeply. And it's not that people don't feel deeply. It's just that for some reason, something with me is just different. And it's, maybe there's a better way to explain it. And I'm not trying to elevate myself above anyone, of course, because again, the way it's commonly perceived is not exactly a way you would say sensitivity is good or anything. But I have learned, one of the main things I've learned the past few years is to make sensitivity more of an advantage. I used to be so caught up in negative feedback, and I would carry that with me. Something streaming, and something that many thought-breaking exercises that I have, like a pattern of thought-breaking exercises that I have, something that's been really good for me is to see that that there is so much good, and to hold on to it. When I'm streaming and someone says a wonderful thing, I really think about that. I'll think about that a lot of the rest of the day now. And when I think, even before this documentary, which I don't know how it will affect people. I haven't seen any reactions to the ending. I don't know truly how many people will really connect with it. I hope as many as possible. I hope half, I don't know, 2 people maybe that watch it. But it's my hope that, regardless of sensitivity, regardless of fame, I still think it's true that everyone feels, everyone wants happiness and isn't crazy about pain and deserves compassion and has a whole beautiful world within them. And I think so many things stifle that. And something I want to put out is that it doesn't have to be that way. And I recognize if you look at my story and things since then, it would be a very easy explanation to say, this guy didn't win all the time, so don't listen to him. He doesn't know. And I understand that. But I would also like to invite you, even if you have doubts about success for me, or you have doubts about things I've learned, I would just invite you to ask yourself more questions. To just say, if you walk away from an interaction with someone and it seems hard for them, or it feels a little uncomfortable to think about, to just say, is there a different way to look at this? What else is possible? I don't ask people to live like me, but something I really want to do is to share my light with people. And to do that, I understand that I first have to give a lot of that light to myself, and I have to accept that light within myself. And if you look back at everything, you will see someone who is trying to find his own light. And you can see real glimmers of that before Apex 2015. When I talked before I beat in the documentary, before beating Armada in Winners Finals, and I said, I deserve this. Me here watching that started crying. And I had held tears back, and I had been nervous about how all this was going to turn out and everything the whole time. But I think I needed that too. I need to remember that I deserve success, consistent success, to feel fully connected with my body and my emotions and every aspect of myself. And I made massive progress before that tournament. And I had to move away from my old routine to find a new way to learn to see my light. Routines are hard to give up because they're often comfortable. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a very routine person in a lot of ways. So to change a lot of my routines and to change the way I've thought about myself so many times, I feel like I'm reinventing myself over and over. I know this is not something that people have seen. I know this is not something that has been borne out in the number one placing of every Melee tournament. And I know this is not necessarily borne out in the, yes, we're competing again yet. But I think, if you will indulge me to say it again, I think if you look back and you watch my streams, my health updates, my interview with Samox yesterday, maybe this, I cried before this, maybe not the best example, but I would encourage you to look at not just me as a player, though I think I've done some really impressive things, especially when you consider the emotional side that's connected to it. But I ask you to look at me as a person, please. And not just for me, maybe only half for me or maybe less, but I ask that for you too, and for anyone you meet, and for anyone even that says things that you disagree with, given such a time we're in. And I know that's hard, and I know, what about this, and I understand, but I genuinely want to live in a kinder world. I do. And I also don't really want to cry while doing this, but so I guess I'm not going to, but I also didn't really script this part, so I guess I'll just say a lot of people don't like the doc, and that's fine. But I hope we can still take good things from it, and we can still be kind to each other. And if we end up having issues with the doc, okay. But if we can at least be nice to each other, regardless of all that, and the world would be a better place, like Armada said, I'd be really happy with that. I don't really know how to end this, so I'm just going to say thank you for taking the time. Thank you for watching Metagame. Thank you for listening to this video. That was a bit of a weird rant. And I hope you understand the emotion behind it. Have a good day. I'll see you guys all soon.